What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 90s First Podcasting Network. My name is Mike, and alongside my co-host Joe, we take a look at some 90s content that we just can't stop watching. Join us on our flagship show, the 90s First Show. We look at some 90s content that Joe and I are watching, as well as some current stuff, and we end it with a 90s trivia contest. Or join us on Test Your Might, a video game debate show where we battle it out on the current news. Joe hosts as our good buddy Cicero and I try to get the high ground and go 1000 IQ against each other. If you would like to connect with us, we are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the 90s First. And finally, if you would like to support us monetarily, we have a Patreon. Head on over to patreon.com/the90sfirst to show general support for as little as $1 a month. So whether you're listening to the 90s First Show or Test Your Might, Joe and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope that you have a blessed day. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 90s First Show. Hey, the first one of the year. And man, it's been a pleasure to plan all this and get all the new content ready for our flagship show. And so I want to welcome you guys here. Thank you for listening. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy days, busy schedules. And so, as always, let's do some introductions. We got our good friend, okay? We got my co-host in Jelly. How you doing, Jelly, today?
I'm doing wonderful, absolutely wonderful, just great, and wonderful.
Okay, so wonderful.
How about you?
Doing good. Thank you for asking. And then we have a special guest today. We actually delayed the episode a little bit so that he could join us. And it's our good friend. We call him Rubber Doug in the gaming world, but is my good high school friend, Justin. How you doing today, Justin?
I am doing just peachy.
Just peachy. Okay.
Just peachy.
If you guys don't know, Justin was one of the original supporters of the Patreon and just really loves our content, and so we're super glad and happy to have him on the show. So, and plus he loves 90s content as well. So
it's good that you're here. Baby.
What? Yeah. All right. So, as if you guys watched or listened to one of our episodes recently, we did kind of a small 20-minute update as to where this show is going to be going. And so we're not necessarily going to be talking about the first episode of certain 90s TV shows anymore, but rather we're just going to bring up some of the 90s content that we have been watching. Every 2 weeks when an episode records, we'll be talking about something that we've watched, either read or listened to even. Jelly was talking about some music the other day, so maybe he'll talk about that at some point.
I'll touch on it.
But regardless, our new segment is called the 90s First segment. So, gentlemen, let's talk about something 90s that you have consumed recently. And guest of honor, we'll start with you, Justin. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to bring to the table that you watched recently about the 90s?
I've been watching a lot of 90s movies, actually. Jelly and listening to the podcast has got me into it. And I've just been retracing steps in movies and TV and music that I've been listening to my whole life. And I've been going through a lot of the old romantic comedies lately. Like the old Julia Roberts, the old Richard Gere's,
great
the
choices.
older comedies, the good comedies. Picked up the Back to the Future 4K set and started watching that. So that's pretty nice. And music-wise, I went through Apple Music and I've been listening to the classic R&B songs from the 90s. So like the classic good ones, the ones that started R&B. Missy Elliott's in there, like the old school good music for R&B.
Mm-hmm. So what would you like to highlight? Like just what's one specific thing that really caught your eye, and what do you want to talk about today?
The unique storylines in these movies. It's not all a redone movie. It's not all a reboot. It is classic storylines that were unique at the time. And each movie is different than the last one. It's not all the same.
All right. So yeah, you did a romantic comedy. What's the best one that you've watched recently?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Pretty Woman.
Great choice.
Pretty Woman is
Yeah.
definitely up there with romantic comedies.
It's
and
a
that
good
came
movie.
out in 1990, so
Ooh, just hits the mark.
Yeah,
That's our criteria. It's got to be a 90.
I'm at the far other end of that spectrum, just barely making it.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I think I'm. Or no, I think I'm in the middle. But regardless, so Pretty Woman. What are some memories that you have about that movie? What stands out?
Huge mistake. Big mistake. Huge. The lower person and the lower class treating the upper class, kind of like what we have with GameStop right now. But
What?
it is. It's good. It is. Don't judge a book by the cover. You don't know what is in their pocket.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember watching that movie with my mom. My mom is the biggest Richard Gere fan that I know.
Mine too.
Just has all the VHS tapes of every single movie that he's ever been in.
Oh yeah.
From back in the day. I'm sure she has a couple DVDs, but yeah, she showed. I watched Pretty in Pink. Or not Pretty in Pink.
Pretty Woman.
Sorry, Pretty Woman.
DVD.
There we go. There it is. I watched Pretty
I
Woman.
had to pull 'em out.
With my mom, and she'd be just on her Richard Gere kicks, right? And honestly, some of those movies are pretty good. And so Pretty Woman is probably on top of that list, as one of Richard Gere's best, as well as Julia Roberts. Jelly, what do you got on Pretty Woman?
So I've seen it a few times. It is not my favorite. I'm not the biggest
not my
Julia
favorite
Roberts
either.
fan. But it wasn't a bad movie. I remember. I don't know, you're right. I remember being, probably way too young to have watched it when I first watched it. I'm sure I was probably under 10. And we didn't really have guidelines for what movies we could and couldn't watch in our house if they were wholesome, family friendly, which this one mostly is. It was allowed. As you very well know, Mike, my kids watch Jurassic Park with me because that's obviously a wholesome, family fun movie.
Oh yeah.
That is not what I'm talking about today because that was 93 and I'm at the other end of the spectrum. But Pretty Woman was a great movie, great film. Obviously touches on those don't judge a book by its cover themes. And also I noticed the age gap between Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, which is in my opinion significant, but ironic that I also happen to have married someone older than me with not a huge significant age gap, but I think around the same. So it's something that hits a little closer to home now that I'm an adult. But yeah, just good movie overall. I think it would rate high in the 90s rom. It's kind of a comedy. Maybe high in the 90s rom-com category for me. Might break top 10.
Ooh, top 10 rom-com. Doesn't got anything else on it. What?
What?
I said, do you have anything else on Pretty Woman?
I do understand the age gap there, but I think the thematic elements of not judging someone based on their past and seeing what they can become and flourish into something beautiful. No one is tied down by their past, and if you have the goal set in place, you can become anything you want, and that's what she did.
Obviously, the much more prominent theme in that movie.
Yes. Anyway, Jelly, what do you have? What do you have from the 90s that you want to chat about?
So I'm rewatching Star Wars, which means that I had to start at the beginning, and I mean, beginning timeline wise. So
Chronologically.
I watched. Well, yeah, not release order, chronological. So I watched Phantom Menace, which
Still
was
You're clear.
and wasn't as bad as I remember it. in both aspects. It was better in some parts and then worse in others. So it was about as good as it could be for being Phantom Menace. But it was good. It was a good movie, and it had all the nostalgia. So I think that helps a lot, especially for me, because I happen to be 9 years old and a huge Star Wars nerd. When this came out, I fell in love with it. And as I've rewatched it over the years as an adult, I've fallen out of love with it. And then as I continue to go through the series and watch the Attack of the Clones and stuff like that, it hurts and, cuts that wound and opens it up even more. But Phantom Menace wasn't that bad. Qui-Gon was pretty cool. We got Ewan Obi-Wan, who was great. Liam Neeson Qui-Gon, which was good. We can look past a lot of the really bad acting and enjoy Annie's. Annie did really good, whoever that kid is who played Annie, and I should have looked his name up, but he did well. Way better than Padme, who was what's her face?
Natalie Portman.
Yes, thank you. Who was terrible. And that's being gracious. So yeah, it was good. It had some. Mike, you disagree with that statement?
Natalie Portman is always good, in my opinion. I think she's a good actress, but
even in Phantom Menace. When was the last time you watched Phantom Menace?
It's been a minute. I'll say that.
I've recently watched it as well, Joey. I went through chronologically like you're doing.
Yeah.
Right before Mike and I saw the final, and then again after that with Kenzie, I'm going through it. And this last watch of the prequel trilogy, I've grown a different look on it. And I actually enjoyed watching all three of them. I used to hate Attack of the Clones with passion. And
I can't watch it.
From a different point of view of just seeing it as that trilogy, I think it was well done.
There's really good parts in Attack of the Clones.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. The Phantom Menace was the only one I've seen in theaters in 3D because they released it in 3D.
Yeah,
and to see pod racing
was pretty cool. Yeah,
under a different light,
that
a good light.
Neat.
It was good, and I'll never. I don't think I hated them. I don't hate any of them. I love them all.
I dislike clones. And it's not the movie that I dislike, it's the acting by Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman that ruin it, because
didn't he win the Oscar that year? Best actor?
Get out of here. I mean, maybe the way they give Oscars out now.
He didn't. Phantom Menace, man. It is the first movie that I can remember going to the theaters for. And I remember that my aunt, she took me and my two cousins to go see Phantom Menace, and it was a tradition. That is what started a tradition on our birthdays. So we would go and see a movie on our birthdays. So. Phantom Menace was one of the first ones that I can remember seeing in theaters, and that is why I hold it to such high esteem. I think I will argue that it's the best of the prequel trilogy, and I will argue that.
Maybe.
Whatever. You can at me. I don't care. But I got two words for you. Darth Maul. That's all I have to say. Okay. I got two more words. Pod racing. That's all I got to say.
I've got one word.
Look, I agree.
Midichlorians.
My favorite Sith, but
Darth Maul's your favorite Sith?
Yeah, but I don't. I think Revenge of the Sith was much better because it was the finale to the prequels. And you saw Anakin really change a lot during that film.
Yeah, I can get behind Revenge of the Sith. I think that there are some brilliant moments in that movie. But Phantom Menace is just always held a high esteem in my mind and in my heart. Not only because it's the first one that I've ever seen. It's but it has such a good story to me. I don't know why. So,
question: when you say first one you've ever seen, do you mean that was the first Star Wars film you ever saw, or the first one you saw in theaters?
You have to remember that I am 6 years old. So I don't necessarily know if I I don't actually remember if I watched the original trilogy before I've seen Phantom Menace because I was 6.
Jelly and I are on a different pedestal
because it came out
seeing those originals.
Yeah, it came out December, right? It was a December release of 99. So you would have seen it.
Whatever. I was 6, 7 years old, whatever. Like
all I'm saying is I have an 8-year-old and he knows what movies he's seen.
Yeah, because that's in his recent memory. I am almost 30.
Yeah, he was 6 2 years ago, bro. All 2 years.
Anyway, I love Phantom Menace, and the music is great in that as well. Obviously, John Williams kills it again.
Yeah, it's a John Williams score. Yeah, can't.
Yeah,
it's hard to rival.
Yeah,
no, it's very good.
But yeah, that's what I watched, and I will be continuing to watch. Well, now 2000s content.
Yes. Justin, got anything else on Phantom Menace?
I agree with you. Where it's a complete film. It has a hook. It has a finale. I grew up with the originals, watching them on VHS tapes. I had a collector set. I watched them on Laserdisc. So I grew up watching the originals before VHS was a thing, and Phantom came out on DVD. So I knew I already had a backstory for Star Wars, and seeing the Luke and the Han Solo storyline unfold before that, it was a good film. I'm not saying it's bad, but the original trilogy, the chronologically released trilogy, is by far my favorite out of the 3.
Oh yes. Yeah, because it's the best. It's the best. But that's a whole nother podcast.
Well, it's the same. It's the nostalgia feel. I grew up with it. It's like you saw Phantom first, so that's where your nostalgia hits.
Yeah, but I'm not going to. Phantom Menace is not better than the original trilogy. I won't ever say that.
What about nostalgia wise though? Does it hold more nostalgia than the originals?
For me, no. I really, just because, like, Phantom Menace might have been the first one that I saw in theaters, but I can remember the first time I saw Return of the Jedi and I saw Empire Strikes Back. I almost immediately watched them again. Like, so those are the ones that have more nostalgia for me because. Empire Strikes Back is just brilliant.
Did you watch the movies in reverse order?
No, Jelly. I just said them in reverse order. Oh my goodness!
Just making sure you didn't go through. You're like, yeah, he's the father. Also, wait, dude's frozen current. Wait, also, he finds out he's a Jedi. Huh.
No, Empire is definitely my favorite all-time Star Wars film, and it'll always be. It's got Hoth, and that battle was. Come on.
Mine's still a New Hope. Anyways, back on track, guys.
Yes.
The Phantom Menace was 90s content. Mike,
Star Wars.
What did you watch? What are you bringing?
So I'm bringing something that really is going to hit Justin hard. It's not going to hit you hard, Jelly.
Oh, I know what it is. It's a horror film.
I've even texted with Justin about this for in recent memory. Just this past month, I was like, I've been wanting to watch the Scream movies. And I've been wanting to buy them on Blu-ray and collect them and stuff like that. But I haven't gotten around to that. But lo and behold, I was looking through when I was trying to decide what 90s content to watch for this podcast. I was going through some of the horror films that are on HBO Max. And so I was on there, and Scream, the original trilogy, is there. So I watched the first Scream. And man, just it's been so long since I watched it, but I never forgot how good it was, right?
Oh yeah.
Like it is it brought horror back. Really. It really brought horror back because you have those years, everybody listening, if you don't know, horror films are my favorite genre. Same with Justin as well. We love horror films. And from like the mid 80s to like up till Scream is like a dark period in horror film history. It's like, it's not good.
There was a lot of sequels that just didn't do justice. No original idea. Scream did bring it back for the slasher.
Yes. Yeah, and that's where Justin and I like we do like the poltergeist stuff. We do like the supernatural type things in horror films. But like that's where Justin and I really bonded as friends growing up, was the slasher films. We love the slasher films. His favorite is Freddy, mine is Michael Myers. But Scream,
one's better than the other, we know.
Yeah. Michael's better. Scream brings it all together and brings horror films back to where they're, in my opinion, where they were supposed to be. And the brilliance of Scream is that it's a horror film that does not shy away from what it is. It understands that it's a horror film, and it plays with the tropes of horror films too. I mean, there's even a section where one of the main characters is talking about the rules of horror films. Like the first rule of horror films, if you want to survive, is to not have sex. That type of thing. It's those. It's just
Friday the 13th time. That's
oh yeah,
way back.
I mean, it's so. Scream itself is such a fun movie, fun horror film that makes fun of itself, and it does it brilliantly. And then I was just thinking about all the horror references that you see there, just like with the trivia at the very beginning with Drew Barrymore's character, and then you see one of the janitors hearkening to Nightmare on Elm Street. You see one of the janitors in a Freddy outfit, basically, from the Elm Street series, and the best part about Scream is that you never know. Unless you've seen it before, but you never know who the killer is. And it's such a good mystery behind the horror. And it brought back slasher films, and I love slasher films, and it's Jelly's favorite movie of all time.
Obviously, you can just hear how much I'm contributing to this part of the conversation. I totally love this movie. 100%.
Have you seen it though, Jelly?
I have seen it. Obviously, I've seen. I think I've seen all the Scream movies. There's 3, I believe, unless there's a new one.
There is
a new
4.
one I haven't.
There is 4.
Is there?
But,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen up to Scream 3. They're good movies. I don't. It's not that I hate horror film. It's just that I generally don't get anything out of them. When I'm watching a horror film, they don't do anything for me. Most of the time, you can guess what's going to happen. So I either don't get the jump scares because I already know it's coming, or I can guess the plot because it's too easy. Scream is a good one. You're right. I think I like the older ones better. Things like The Shining, where it's more mental thriller style horrors, are better for me.
Mm-hmm.
But Scream is fine. I mean, and then we've talked a lot about on our other podcast, but I freaking love Matthew Lillard, so.
Justin, what do you got on Scream?
I agree. It's one of the first horror movies that I really got into, the trilogy, the original trilogy, that was an unknown killer. It was fear of the unknown within the cast, because you get Freddy, it's a person, Freddy. There he is, you know who he is. Mike Myers, it's a person. Jason, it's a person. This is really the fear of the unknown during all of the situations. No one knew who the killer was. So it was kind of a mystery and also a murder at the same time, but with slasher elements, which really rejuvenated the horror genre.
Yeah,
and comedy.
No, it really did.
The comedy in it helped lift it for me.
No, yeah, and that's true. And that's why you have movies like Scary Movie that are almost solely based on Scream, because
it was
just
a
because
parody film for the horror genre based on the movie
exactly,
Scream. Yeah.
exactly. Which and Scream is just brilliant in the way that it plays with its tropes, with horror film tropes, and just how horror films go. And plus I love Scream because of its it sort of has this. Halloween is my favorite horror film of all time, one of my favorite movies, and Scream has just this almost what's the word, awe of Halloween, specifically. Like the script plays to how good of a film Halloween was, and I think just the you see some of the DNA of Halloween in Scream, and it just makes it so much. It makes it one of my top 5 horror films. So
Now, don't judge me here. Halloween's Mike Myers, right?
yeah.
Okay.
The groovy baby. Mike Myers.
Different Mike.
What? Party on, Garth.
Yes, not the same.
All right, guys. So with that being said, we're going to move on to our next segment. We are going to talk about the current content that we have been consuming. I don't know what the title of this segment is, but we're going to be talking about some of the things that we've been watching, reading, maybe even playing. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to talk about, just one, maybe 2 things. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna bring it up. So Jelly, why don't we start with you?
Content that I'm currently ingesting, The Boys on Amazon Prime. It is, I mean, we're all kind of big superhero fans and a bit nerdy about superheroes. It is what would happen if superheroes were real people, and it's a great show. I mean, it's super inappropriate. It is absolutely not family friendly. It is MA, R17 plus, whatever you want to call it. Very inappropriate. But The Boys is fantastic. It's a fantastic superhero show, making fun of and making almost light of the fact that people with superpowers can get away with doing terrible things without having consequences. And yeah, I've been enjoying that.
Man, The Boys is one of those that I really want to get into. I've heard that it's really good. Do you recommend it?
The wife probably won't enjoy it.
This would be I'm on my headphones watching it on my phone, not really with people around.
It is one of those shows, but it is super good. I binged. The first season is 8 episodes, and I finished 7, and I finished 7 episodes over 2 or 3 days. So
okay,
very good, binge worthy. They have season 2 out already, so that'll be next. But first, I need to watch episode 8, the finale of season 1, which is I've heard really good, and my coworkers have already watched it, and they're like, "You need to watch it. You need to watch it." I was like, "Okay, I'll watch it. Sure." And so I started watching it, and they were like, "It's good, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." And they're like, "No, it's like really good." I was like, "Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. I'm enjoying it." And I went to watch episode 8 on my phone, and my phone kept having an error doing playback. Ooh. And I was like, dang it. And then my coworker was like, wait, is that the finale? He's all, watch it on the TV. I was like, okay. He's all, you'll enjoy it on the TV. So I now have to find a time when my wife doesn't want to watch something with me and my kids are asleep, so I can kind of shoehorn the 45-minute episode into my schedule so I can enjoy it on my big screen.
There you go. Anything else you want to bring up what you've been doing?
The other thing is Ready Player 2, which I have referenced way too many times in the other podcast, but oh my gosh, are those books so good. So I finished Ready Player 2, which you finished before me, and you were hounding me to finish, which I finally did.
Yes.
Bro, it is so good, so amazing. I'm afraid we won't get any more because they kind of tied a nice bow on it and let it be. But I want more.
It did say to be continued at the end, potentially. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see.
we'll see. They wrapped it up super nice.
I'll be honest. I don't know what they would do, what he would do with the story. And
no idea.
I was reading the acknowledgments at the end, his like letter, and it's just and I think it's so cool that he has like people around him helping him write this book, that he has employees that are doing research for him, and everything.
Absolutely. With the amount that they threw in the first and second book for cultural references to certain things, and how detailed and detail oriented his writing is for specifically those genres and those decades and the era. Like you no one's a big enough fan to know everything that he's put into those books. No one's a big enough fan. And like the books are written about a guy who was the big enough fan, who made his life about those things.
Yeah.
But that's not realistic. So yeah, you know, he's got a great group of employees and friends and family, and probably all of those combined helping him get all this information together to deliver what is, undoubtedly one of the best book series that I've read. Oh yeah.
Justin, what have you been watching, reading, whatever you want to talk about?
Lately, I don't know if you guys have ever. I know Mike has seen Carrie, the movie Carrie. Jelly, you've seen Carrie?
I've seen part of it. I did not watch all of it because that's
never ever watch the old one and then the remake back to back. Because right when the climax happened, it was just like I couldn't do anything about it. It just turned red. Like
you dyed your hair red?
Oh yeah. But yeah, I watched the
so well with the wall behind you.
Can't even see it. Like you're bald right now.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, but other than watching Carrie, I've been getting Isabel, my daughter, into games. Trying to. We've been playing Angry Birds together.
Nice.
Which she is enjoying, and for some reason, I guess I've lost my touch because she gets more 3 stars than I do. I must not be very good. Other than that, I've gotten back into Apex, which I took a 2-month break, as you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's riding a bike. I'm back on the game, and enjoying.
There
Just
you
in
go.
time for season 8.
Yes.
Just in time.
Dropping in a couple days.
Yeah, if you guys don't know us and you're listening or watching, this is the squad right here. Like, you know, these are the two squad. These are the two that I'm always trying to play Apex with. You know, I'll throw a couple other friends in the group as well, but you know, usually we're the squad.
We
you guys
win a
ready
lot.
to run it,
we
by the
play
way?
good together. We have good flow.
Yeah, we play well together.
Last time we had 3 in a row?
Yeah, we did 3 in a row last time we played.
Yep.
All right, that's good.
Not
So anything else you want to bring up, Justin?
Just, you know, being a single dad, doing the best I can, you know, and playing games and working.
That's a hard existence, man. Lots of work. Lots and lots of work.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I've been watching Watchmen, the HBO series, and I'm only 3 episodes in, a little bit into episode 4, and it's super good. It's really good. I love the themes that really started off, you know, and basically, if you don't know the premise of the show, there were a bunch of superheroes that back in the day, they have now since retired. Mm-hmm. Dr. Manhattan is quote unquote, he's not missing, but he's almost, he's not there. People know that he's around, but he's not, he hasn't shown his face yet. And you're kind of following like new protagonists. You know, and then come episode 3 or episode 4, I believe, some of the old protagonists start to weave their way into the story, with the new protagonists and everything that they're doing. And it's a really good commentary on just racism and just current themes in our world, and so it's such a powerful show. If you have the means to subscribe to HBO Max, I definitely recommend it. Watching Watchmen, because it really does show, you know, good social commentary on what's happening in our world right now. And so that's one of my recommendations for anybody to watch, really. And what's cool about it is that it weaves into a superhero, a vigilante story, which I'm all for. So Watchmen, it's really good. Definitely watch it. All right. And then secondly, I've been reading Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Wow.
Great series.
Great.
Yes. Fantastic. So I actually brought my book copy here, and I'm less than 100 pages away. I'm almost done. So, and I think in another podcast maybe, or just whoever's listening may have heard me say before that I never got into Fellowship of the Ring because the beginning is so hard to get through for me, man. Yeah. Just like Tolkien's writing is just so in depth and almost too much. Like, bro, this book could be half of what you wrote.
It's a masterpiece.
You need that backstory. You need that good stuff.
What'd you say, Justin?
You need that backstory and good stuff. It really sets the mood for what they're giving up to go across Mordor, to go across this entire adventure.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I could deal with a little less fluff, but the good news is, as you guys could see, I got past all the fluff and started to appreciate the fluff.
Important details.
Fluff in a Tolkien book. I can't believe I'm hearing this.
And all the fluff turned out to be really good. So, yeah. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Currently, I'm glad that I pushed through. Glad that I was able to get to where I am now. And honestly, I'm very happy about my, consumption of media recently because I've really been focused on reading. Jelly and Justin, you guys both know that I went from a book in the Avatar Last Airbender, series, The Rise of Kyoshi it was called. Haven't read the sequel yet, but I went from that straight into Ready Player 2 and then straight into this. I've been on a reading kick and it's been amazing. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Good for your soul.
Yeah. So after Fellowship, I'm going to be finishing The Shining because I'm in the middle of that. And then after The Shining, I think I'm going to go straight into Two Towers. So, and finish this trilogy. So,
Two Towers is a good one.
Yeah. Two Towers is my favorite movie. Return of the King is really good. But I really enjoyed Two Towers, overall in the trilogy.
Movie-wise? Yeah, sure.
It's probably the best movie.
Yeah.
I would say movie-wise, yes. Book-wise, no.
Book-wise, Return is the best?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Some
would say Fellowship, but so far with all the fluff that I see, hopefully, I'm just killing Jelly. If you're watching the video version, guys, he's got ants in his pants every time I say the word fluff.
At least you're not talking about Harry Potter with fluff. You're talking about Lord of the Rings. There's a big difference there.
Well, Harry Potter doesn't really have fluff.
Harry Potter has more fluff than Lord of the Rings.
Baloney.
In spades. Fluff is unnecessary stuff, and Harry Potter has unnecessary stuff. Lord of the Rings, every single bit of what he wrote is necessary for the story, for you to understand the gravity of the situation they're getting themselves into as they go from Hobbiton all the way over across the entire of Middle Earth. To the Blacklands of Mordor.
Jelly.
As someone who's read them all.
Jelly.
Yes, I agree.
You're wrong. Gandalf has a whole paragraph and he's literally making 1 point. He does not need a whole paragraph to make 1 point.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Also,
there's fluff in the story.
You should try reading Gandalf the Silmarillion.
Oh, wait, what are you saying, Joe? Good. I was going to say, just because Gandalf can articulate and be wise and come to a point over a paragraph does not make it any less beneficial than, say, like Master Yoda saying 2 lines that are very wise. Gandalf is a very wise person.
I enjoy his wisdom, but he can say his point in 2 sentences versus a whole paragraph.
Maybe there was more to that point and you just missed some of it.
No, in some of the cases there isn't, and you know it. Although you appreciate it, you know it that he could have gotten his point across 2 sentences earlier. All right, That's enough. Next segment.
Lord of the Rings.
I think Mike needs clip notes.
The details are necessary.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. So, everybody listening, once again, thank you. We are going to be going into trivia, but first, we want to give you a sneak peek into our new segment that will come next episode. There are a lot of things that get rebooted. And the 90s is no question. So our plan is to create a segment called The 90s Now, and we will be discussing IPs, intellectual properties. Jelly, you know what that means now. We'll be discussing IPs.
IP.
We'll be
Go to
discussing
the urination station.
We'll be discussing 90s properties that have been revitalized and remade, basically, in the now. Now we might not have this segment every single week because there's some things that we just don't want to cover. But like, for example, they just did a new Walker series based on like Walker Texas Ranger. So we're probably going to be watching maybe that a little bit and talking about it. Loosely, but still related. We're going to be talking about that a little bit in the 90s Now segment. So stay tuned for that. We'll get that out in the next episode. And once again, it won't be a segment that is every single week, every single time we record, but we'll get that out. We're really excited for that. Segment. So with that being said, now we're going to go into trivia. And like we said in our update episode, we're going to try to make a game out of it, a contest. Whoever gets the most trivia wins, quote unquote, at the end will maybe get a trophy. I don't know. Maybe we'll make something. But Jelly,
yeah, we're making some sort of trophy.
Jelly is the trivia. He's going to cover the answers so that he's able to answer. And all three of us are going to try to guess.
All right. Okay. We have total number of individual adamantium claws that Wolverine has, plus the number of swords Deadpool has.
Okay, so total number of claws and then total number of swords?
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple addition here, if you know how many claws he has and how many swords Deadpool has.
I'm going to say 8.
I was going to go with 9 or 10 because there was multiple swords back in the animated series. So I'm going to go with 10.
I'm also going with 8 because it should be 3, 3, and 2, I think.
That's my assumption.
Unless Deadpool had more swords.
I mean, Deadpool is a lot.
I'm thinking maybe he had the 2 on his back for sure. Did he have a hip one?
I don't know.
Or like a behind the back little thing?
I don't know. All right, what's the answer?
Are we ready?
Yep.
I haven't seen it yet. 8. 6 plus 2 equals 8.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, thank goodness.
All right. So since in our first episode, our update episode of the 90s First Show, Jelly gave me an impossible question to answer. Jelly has 1 point.
Pop culture question.
I have 1 point, and Justin, you have 0. So next time you're on the show, you kind of got to get on the board.
All right. Putting this one reversed in the back because it has another question that we'll get to later. I'm excited.
All right. Sounds good. Jelly, I just thought of this on the spot. Since you've been listening to some 90s music, can you offer a recommendation of some 90s music for our listeners to listen to?
Absolutely. The number one song that I'm going to recommend today is What Is Love by Hathaway. Just let that start your day every day until next time you listen to us, and I can guarantee you'll have a better day than you would have if you hadn't started your day with Hathaway. What is love?
What is love? Justin, where can we find you? Do you want people following you, or
I'm on everything as Rubber Duck 2500, so feel free to find me.
So if you want to go follow Justin, Justin will probably be on the show every once in a while, for sure. It was good having you, man. Thanks for jumping on.
Definitely. It's been too long.
It's been too long. Jelly, we'll talk to you later.
I mean, I'll be here.
All right. Don't play that, dude.
It's fine. They can't hit us for that. It was too short.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. My name is Mike. That's Jelly. That is Justin. Bye.
See you later, dudes.